Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, Anita Finley.
So we just about have it here. We, of course, Jim Hansen, you've heard him before, our little star of the Seniors Helping Seniors. And Jim, you brought some wonderful people with you, but you brought a new franchisee, Diana Kapasi.
Well,
hello,
yes.
Diana.
Well, good morning.
So this is, you're just smiling. All your dreams are coming true, aren't they?
Yes, and I will tell you that Diana epitomizes what we want in a franchise partner. She, not only does she do a great job, but, she lives it every day. I'll let her tell her story, but she's a great person to be part of this organization.
Well, that's wonderful. To get high marks from someone like Jim is very special because, he's a great guy. So tell me a little bit about you, though, Diana. Have you been in the healthcare field?
Absolutely not. I have not.
But you have been a caregiver, obviously.
I am a caregiver. I have an elderly mother who is really instrumental in bringing me to Seniors Helping Seniors. I spent 35 years in human resources. In various different positions in human resources throughout the years. And
but that helped people,
It does. It helped me in many aspects. And what I find is that everything that I did in my career really positioned me to become a franchise owner because it gave me experience in everything that I need. And the reality is that we are a homemaker companionship service and not medical in nature. So the fact that I don't have a medical background really doesn't change things in the operations of the business.
What I think it does, it's almost better in some ways because, and especially you've had the experience taking care of your mother. Fortunately, I think a lot of people don't need the full nursing services. I think a lot of them actually just need homemaker, companion, someone to care about them, and then they probably wouldn't get sick.
Well, the reality is that there's a big hole in our social system. And when there are individuals who are ill, they can get the medical attention. But there are many, many, many elderly who are not ill, who really are lonely, who don't have the physical abilities that they had before and need someone there to be a support for them. And that's what I find is great about Seniors Helping Seniors is that the people that we employ to do the work are caring and compassionate individuals who are seniors themselves, who are facing, in some cases, many situations that are similar to those people who we're servicing. And it creates a great atmosphere between them. And it's really rewarding for me to see. I've been in business for a little over a year in March.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I feel I'm successful. At some point, I'll make money being successful.
Yeah, but you have a great smile on your face, so you're loving what you do. And when you love what you do and you have passion, the money will follow.
Absolutely. I have no doubt.
So I need to give your phone number, and that's going to be very important. Let's do that. Tell me your phone number, so if people are interested in talking with you, what is it that
Absolutely.
they can call?
It's 754-202-5200. So that's 5200.
I knew I had another number there, which wasn't quite, I didn't recognize it. So it's 754-202-5200.
That's correct.
I don't know how you got that number, 5200. That was lucky.
I know, isn't that great?
Okay, well, I am so glad that you were smart enough to realize that you could hook up with Jim Hansen because he is one, just as I love Dr. Mencia and appreciate who he is. I feel the same way about Jim.
And Jim is a great mentor, I have to say.
Well, thank you.
But of course, you know the story, and maybe it's time for us to repeat that again, about who started this whole company. Because she in itself is, you have to follow someone like that, I think.
You do. We've been blessed. Karen Yoakam is our founder, and Karen has a very unique story. When Karen was growing up, she grew up in royalty in India, And she turned 7 years old, and she got her first allowance. And she asked her driver, she had a Christian driver, and she said, I need to give money to help the poor. And this was the heart of a 7-year-old. And so when the driver said, well, I could take you to where I think it would do good, but if I do, your parents would fire me. And she said, well, if you don't take me there, I'll have them fire you. So not only was she, loving, but she also was kind of spunky. And she did this for the next 7 years. Every month she'd get her allowance, and she'd drive, and she'd give money to the same.
Where did he take her?
At the age of 14, finally the nun came out and said, excuse me, but who's doing this, giving of money? And the driver pointed inside the car, and she said, you wait right here. And she came out with Mother Teresa. And that began a very special mentoring of Mother Teresa to our founder, Karen. And for 14 years, Karen worked with Mother Teresa in New Delhi, India, and took care of the indigent, took care of, people with all sorts of, from leprosy to just problems. And so she was mentored by, she was Hindu, and Mother Teresa converted her to Christianity. She taught her to pray, and so, matter of fact, Karen has her rosary beads. Mother Teresa actually gave her her own rosary beads to teach her how to pray. So it's just, and when Karen came over, so she came over to the United States, and when she came over here, she actually was appalled at the way that our country took care of our seniors. And she says, I've got to do something about it. And this was one woman. She says, she's got she's a small woman with a big heart, and she decided that she would go into nursing homes and go into hospitals, and people said, Karen, you bring us hope. And so she said, well, if I can do it, others can do the same thing. And she looked around and she saw all these retired seniors. And Karen has a wonderful saying. She says, once you're somebody, you should never be a nobody.
Yeah, I love that. That's really...
And so the birth of the idea came that why don't we have seniors help seniors? And so that's how the vision got born. And as it continued to grow in a little town in Reading, Pennsylvania, her husband, Philip, who has a background in franchising, told Karen, I think we could take this and make a business opportunity and take the sense of mission that you have and make it maybe, across the country and who knows, across the world. And Karen said, that would be wonderful. And he said, well, I have some bad news for you. And she said, what's that? He says, well, we have to take you out of the business. And he said, well, why? He says, because we have to make sure that it's not Karen helping seniors. We have to make sure that it's seniors helping seniors. That's the model that works. And so they did, and the business continued to flourish. And that's how the business concept got created. So, and Karen says it's a way to fill your pockets and your soul.
And that is wonderful. And I have to say, I had an opportunity to meet Karen and Philip, actually a couple opportunities to meet them, because let me tell you, they don't just give franchises to anyone. There's a very grueling process that we're taken through from soup to nuts. And we're, in fact, chosen to become franchise partners and not purchase a franchise outright. And so initially I met Karen and Philip, I think it was September of 2014. And Karen really has this charisma. She has this thing about her that is very alluring. She radiates kindness and compassion. And so, it doesn't surprise me that she would have done something like this. And, very brilliant in her thought process, because the reality is that we're filling a niche, and we're growing very rapidly, and I'm very excited to be part of this family. It makes me feel very happy, and it gives me a sense of satisfaction that I was allowed to become a franchise partner.
That's the way you wish everybody felt, and I know that you, Jim, being the leader of all this, wouldn't accept anyone unless they did feel that way.
No, as Diana so aptly put, we don't sell franchises, we grant them. So it really does require us to have the right person before we, it's all about, we want somebody that wants to do good and then make good money, but we want it in that order. We want people that want to do good and make good money.
Well, we're doing two things here, I think. We're looking for people who do want to be a franchisee here in Florida, but we also are hoping people who are listening who need a little help.
Absolutely.
Call us too.
Absolutely.
Call you, because I know more than probably most people what does go on in the homes of an older adults, and many times with just a little help from a companion or a homemaker, they can stay independent in their home. If they let it go too long, they will start having accidents, they'll break their hips, something will happen. So if any of you who are listening need just that little bit of help, someone where you're always forgetting where you left the television, you left the anything in your kitchen where you're putting things in the wrong place, or it's too hard now to go to your bathroom and keep things cleaned up. Just those simple things. Or there's no one who's going to take you to the grocery store, so you try to walk there in the heat, which isn't good, and then you have all these bundles. You don't know what to do. Well, if you would call the Seniors Helping Seniors, and I'll give you a line for Jim Hansen, they can give you someone maybe 4 hours once a week, maybe twice a week. That's all you may need. You may need more. But that makes you more independent, not dependent. And that's the big problem that we see.
That's right.
People say, I don't need any help. Well, maybe you don't think you need help, but you are really going to need help if you don't have some help right now, right? So, Jim, let me give everyone your phone number, which is really important. It's 561-392-4846. 561-392-4846. No matter where you live here in South Florida, Jim will make sure that the appropriate franchisee takes that call. So remember, this is two things we're doing today. We're trying to let people know that you can call and you can get people to help you in your home, and they will be seniors. They will understand you. You'll enjoy them. It'll be fun. And if you do want to be a franchisee and you feel like Diana feels, like she wants to do something important, she wants to feel good for herself and also make some money, call Jim and he will help you.
Yes, and there's a third one too.
Oh, what'd I do?
No, you didn't slip up, but we also have opportunities for our seniors that are out there to be able to work.
I did slip up, you're right.
Well, that's an important component too.
Of course
because,
it is.
Yes.
There are many seniors who are active and in good health, and they have a lot of time on their hands. And there are people who would like to do something to help someone. And at the same time, rather than just be a volunteer opportunity, we give them a wage for doing the service.
This comes from your HR experience.
That's
right. She's been in the business of helping people, and that's excellent. I'm glad you brought that up, Diana and Jim.
And it's important because if you look at the article that I wrote in July's,
they're great too.
July's Boomer Times, I talk about seniors helping seniors and oak trees. Symbolize our nation's strength, because as I say, God can make a mushroom in 6 days, but it takes him 60 years to create an oak tree. And our seniors are really it takes time to grow into a seasoned caregiver. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference with our caregivers. Because our seniors are seasoned, we are able to empathize with our seniors. Many younger people, and I love younger people, and they've got a place, but they can sympathize. But our seniors don't want sympathy. They want empathy. They want people to know that they understand what they're going through. And because we have this peer-to-peer relationship, it makes a very unique service because they understand each other.
Well said.
Right.
Well said. I think I feel badly that I forgot that because that's what makes it so important. In fact, the show before Dr. Mencia, they were talking about people going back to work, helping. They would be selling, consulting insurance. People who need insurance, they would now be consultants for them so they could make money, but they'd get back into the workplace, which is very important. This is a little different. You don't have to take insurance exams. You just have to have a kind heart and want to help people.
Right.
And so what I'd like to do is feature, both of you can do that, feature a person who has come to work as a senior, helping seniors. Tell us, you give us men, women.
I'll give you an example. One of my male caregivers was a vice president in IBM. Retired. Was tired of playing golf too many days a week and wanted to have some purpose and meaning back in his life. So he started taking care of a client in Highland Beach. And every day he would take Henry to the Boca Diner. And it was like Cheers. Because every time Henry walked into Boca Diner, everybody said, Hank. Similar to the Norm story on Cheers. And Hank had his own table. Hank, they never had to, he always ordered the exact same thing every day for lunch. The big surprise was what the vegetable of the day was going to be. And but every day Hank would go to the diner with our provider. And one day John couldn't make it. So I went. And I had early in starting up the business, I had taken Hank, to the doctors. So I knew him well. And matter of fact, I knew that I was connecting with Hank one day because he looked at me and said, Jim, can I buy you some flapjacks? And I said, well, thanks, Hank. Because I knew that if he wanted to eat with me, then that was a good connection. But anyways, I went to the diner and the waitress said, who are you? I said, I'm Jim. And she says, well, where's John? I go, well, John couldn't make it today. You know how wonderful John is? I go, well, I'm not sure. Yeah. She goes, well, where's John? I said, well, he had a thing that he had to go to. She says, well, do you know what John did? I said, well, no. She goes, you know Thanksgiving? You know that Hank's daughters don't live here. I go, yeah, I know. One lives in Maine, one lives in New York, and the other one lives in Hawaii. She goes, that's right. And Hank had nowhere to go for Thanksgiving. And John invited him over to his house for Thanksgiving. I said, he did? And, unbeknownst to me, he did this in addition to what we do on a day-to-day basis. He did that. And so that's just a little insight. I mean, that's how important that the wait staff at the diner wanted to make sure that there was nothing happened to our provider of care, because that's how much of a part. And sadly, we lost Hank, and it crushed John, because John actually felt that Hank had become like a brother. And that's the symbiotic connection that's there.
Yeah, and you bring up a lot of good points in that story that you told, Jim. And the reality is that the caregivers, who we call providers, by the way, actually get attached and become friends and have a vested interest in the relationship that they have with the seniors that they're caring for. Quite often, I will get, like, for instance, a next appointment, a next doctor appointment that needs to be serviced. information from the caregiver. Oh, by the way, Anne needs to go to the doctor on X date at X time. I will be picking her up. Because obviously, through the business, we track everything and we have everything on a schedule and we have everyone assigned. And another point is that, Jim mentioned that, he actually had to care for Hank at some point. We do that. If we have a caregiver who is not going to be available, and I don't feel comfortable sending someone who they don't know to the senior's home. It's one of the things that we do is we personally introduce our caregivers. We don't just send someone to their door to represent us. We personally introduce them when it's time for their first visit. And so if I don't have someone who I've already introduced and I don't have anyone assigned, well, then I go myself. And, we also make it a point to contact them. I contact all of my receivers at least once a month. When I'm working on my billing and figuring out what to do, I'll call them and, at least once a month, if not more often, to find out how they're doing. And in fact, I personally I commented to one of my receivers that I was going to be having a medical test done. And she called me up on Tuesday night, and she wanted to know how I was doing, and I was so touched. That was great.
You really created this chain of love and care, and so I have to give your phone number again. I certainly hope you will get calls from people who want to be like you, Diana.
Thank you.
And Jim, and people who like John. That's his name, right?
Yes.
That he now has to, he really cares about the people he's taking care of. And so it's really important. So let me give you a phone number to reach Jim Hansen. That's 561-392-4846. You can go online because they have a beautiful website and you'll learn everything about what we've been talking about. It's called SeniorsHelpingSeniors.com. SeniorsHelpingSeniors.com. It's interesting that so many names you have to figure out, what do they do? Well, your name of your company.
There's no doubt.
There's no doubt what you're doing, right?
That's right.
And so when you are interviewing people to be a senior helper, you call it a provider?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay. What are some of the questions that you ask them? I mean, they may look good,
sure,
but what do you ask them?
Well, first, it's all about how do they conduct themselves when you first meet them. Do they have a smile on their face? Do they have a good countenance? Do they walk in with some enthusiasm? Those things are a lot. Body language, is a huge part of an interview process, and the way they, the tonality, how they speak. Statistically, body language takes up about 58% of communication. Tonality is about 38%. Words themselves only are about 7% of the
didn't know all that
of communication. So it's real important to look at it from that way. But then the best way to interview anybody is to have them talk about past experiences. Tell me about that. Tell me about a time when you helped somebody. What was that like? And now it's not like an easy question to answer. They have to draw on their experience. And what happens is if you use, and I should defer to the expert HR person over here, but the thing really is past experiences, drawing on those past experiences, it's very difficult for people to make those up as easily.
Right.
So you really start to get to the nitty gritty.
Mm-hmm. So Diana, but I want to ask you then, how did you find Jim? How did you hear about the company?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, it's actually a long story, probably dating back about 8 years, I think, when I was on an airplane. I quite often traveled in my work. I worked for a global company and traveled internationally and was often on very long flights, so you have to avail yourself of everything. And so I found a tiny little article, probably 1 inch by 1 inch, in one of these Airways magazines about seniors helping seniors and franchise opportunities. And, at that time, I wasn't at all thinking of any change. I was very happy in my career. But I thought one of the things that I had done in the years that that I worked for corporate America was to provide benefits. And we provided benefits to all of our employees in the United States. And we had a small group of retired executives who received health benefits. And quite often I was involved in that process and getting help for them. And I always thought to myself, when I grow up, I'm going to be some kind of an advocate for the elderly. I mean, this is way before Seniors Helping Seniors ever came into existence in my realm of possibility. And so I stored that in the back of my mind, and I went on with my life as normal. And when I transitioned in 2014, I actually left my job after 35 years, realizing that my mother had gotten to the point in her life where she really needed me to be nearby. I was living in Virginia at the time. And so I made the decision to move back to Florida, which is where I had grown up. And when my youngest son graduated from high school, we sold it all, packed it all up, and moved to sunny South Florida, and I had no job. And I did that on purpose because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I knew that God was going to provide. There was no doubt in my mind that that was going to happen. So when I got here, I didn't know really what I was going to be doing. And I heard on the TV, on satellite radio, a commercial about Seniors Helping Seniors. And I had been really praying and hoping that something were to come, and no job that I was interviewing for, any preparation that I was doing to get a job panned out. So I made the call. I called Seniors Helping Seniors, and the rest was history.
Pops, Jim, and we're going to have to, we'll have you back again. This is wonderful. You always do the nicest things for us, Jim. So,
Well,
Diana, we're going to see you at the Boomer Expo.
Absolutely.
Jim
Tuesday.
and his, Tuesday. Everyone's coming there. Be sure to get to Seminole Hard Rock between 10 and 4 on this coming Tuesday, the 28th. And thank you very much for, and you see, it was funny, I had to almost get a hook for her. She had never been on. But when you're good, right?
That's right.
I loved it.
Thank
That was
you.
great.
Thank you.